Have you ever wondered when the Quran was actually written and if it was truly preserved? Let's watch this video of David Wood and Brother Rachid as they explore the history of the Quran, its reliance on oral recitation, and whether it was accurately passed down. Get ready for an eye-opening discussion that challenges what many believe.
A lot of people, Brother Rachid, don't know how the Quran was compiled. I've even seen Muslims say that the Quran was put together into an entire book during the time of Muhammad and got his stamp of approval, and this was passed down and so on. And that's not even in their own sources. Their own sources completely contradict that. So what do you think about how the Quran was revealed and put together? What do the sources actually say?
So according to Muslims, all scholars, they agree that it was revealed through 23 years, and then a bunch of verses here and there. I don't think even surahs were revealed completely, except the very few short ones. But the rest is just compilation.
So just to be clear, you take a long chapter that was originally a bunch of individual pieces revealed on different occasions as different questions arose. They're getting little pieces of it. Muhammad receives a revelation somehow. He delivers it to his followers.
His scribes, he has a few scribes that write after him. They write on different pieces, for example, bones or
flat stones,
anything that is
date palm
available.
leaves.
And then they put them somewhere, and they start reciting some of them during prayer. Of course, you can imagine how much things happened during these 23 years. They had wars, they had raids, they had problems, they had all kind of stuff, and the material was not that abundant. And also he had some problems with his scribes. One of them actually ran away to Mecca, and he said, I knew he was not a prophet.
Because Muhammad was letting him make changes to the...
Oh, the guy is, Muhammad says, Alimun Khabir, like God, omniscient and all-powerful. And then the guy say, well, probably wise and omniscient. And he will be like, yeah, that's how it was revealed to me.
And then that's the guy who he blurts out. While Muhammad is delivering a revelation, he blurts out.
Yeah.
This is Abdullah ibn Abi Sar. He blurts out, so blessed be Allah, the best of creators. And Muhammad says, yeah,
that's how it was revealed.
And he actually apostatized over that, left Islam because he said, wait, if I'm the one who delivered that and Muhammad says he got it, that means I would be a prophet too. And I know I'm not a prophet.
And he was going to kill him. This is just to finish the story. He was going to kill him when he went back to Mecca. Except Ottoman, which was one of the main followers of Muhammad, because he was his cousin. So he said, "Please, can you?" He pleaded for Muhammad. Please, can you forgive him? Please, can you forgive him? That's how he was forgiven. He didn't kill him just because of Ottoman, but he was going to be killed. Anyway, to go back to the story, how the Quran was compiled. This is how it was compiled. When Muhammad died, actually, the Quran was not. People didn't know if it was done, revelation, because he died suddenly. Nobody expected him to die. He just died suddenly. The Quran is not finished. They have stuff with Hafsa, stuff with Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, stuff with his followers and his wife. And Ubay ibn Ka'b had, and they had differences among them.
They didn't even agree on the chapters.
How many? Yeah, some of them have less than 114, some of them has more than 114. And there was a big disagreement. And even Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, the first sentence we start each chapter with it, they disagreed. Was it part of the Quran or just a sentence we start with it?
And there were interesting reasons for some of the disagreements. Muhammad supposedly during his time said, if you want to learn the Quran from anyone, learn it from these four people. And the top of his list was Ibn Masud. Ibn Masud had 111 chapters in his Quran.
True.
Because, and he pointed out, which actually makes sense, he said, look, Surah 1, Surah 113, and Surah 114 are prayers. This is us speaking to Allah. The Quran is Allah speaking to us. Why are we putting us speaking to Allah as part of the Quran? These are just prayers.
Isn't that strange? The first chapter in the Quran is disputed. The last 2 chapters in the Quran are disputed. Among the first followers, it's not nowadays. Nowadays, everybody accepts it, but among the first followers. And then when Muhammad died, the caliphate, they're fighting over authority. He's going to take over. Abu Bakr, the first caliph, tried to do first compilation. He tried his best, but still differences were among their followers. So when Omar came, and then after that Ottoman came, then he said, you know what? This is going to cause a lot of trouble. I have to eliminate all other copies and keep just one. So he burned all the Quran. The Quran burning is not really recent in Sweden. It started the first.
That was the original Quran burning.
Exactly. So he burned all the other versions, and then he made copies. And he sent them all to the places where the main cities of Islam, in Egypt and Baghdad and Syria and other places. The problem, we don't have even that today. We don't have that copy that Ottoman said this is the main copy. We have copies of the copies. All manuscripts we have today, they are for a later time, almost a century after after Muhammad, or even more.
And this is actually, I mean, it's actually pretty simple for people to get their minds around the big picture of how this is working here. And what's amazing is it's difficult to find Muslims who aren't scholars who actually know about this. But, you know, we look at the Quran and we think book. It's a book. They early on, according to their sources, viewed it as something to be recited. When you talk about the Quran being written down on flat stones and bones, I'm not thinking, oh, that's pages of a book. No. They're not writing this down as pages of a book. They're writing this down as aids to memory. This is to help you memorize it, right? In other words, the scribe writes it down. Then someone has it in their home, and they can actually, you know, keep reciting it. For people who, the people who could actually read could recite it to other, and then they could actually memorize it. So the Quran, they're not even thinking of the Quran as this physical book. It's just something to be memorized. And then it's the people who died in battle after Muhammad's death. Then Abu Bakr is sending out people to fight the apostate wars, and a bunch of people who had parts of the Quran memorized die. And then Abu Bakr says, we need a physical copy. We need a physical copy so we don't keep losing more and more of the Quran. So what's amazing, the entire reason the Quran was put together as a physical book was because so much of it was being lost when the people were dying.
And I'm sure that the Quran we have today is probably not even as close as to what was back in the days, because even during the time of Muhammad will be walking and he hears somebody praying, and then he's memorizing a certain verse, and he say, oh, God have mercy on him because he reminded me of certain verses that
That's Bukhari. I mean, this is amazing. This is in their own sources that Muhammad is forgetting the verses.
Forgetting. So imagine the other ones.
Yeah, he also says that Allah made him to forget.
That's one of the
weirdest thing ever.
So he has to come up with a way to justify it. If you are the prophet of Allah and you're forgetting your own revelation, how are you going to explain it to me as a follower? So you have to come up with certain justification. You say, well, God made me forget it because he was going to erase it. Then why he revealed it?
But then this guy still doesn't forget it.
Oh yeah, Allah just erased it from your thumb drive, but he forgot that thumb drive.
Yeah, and so Allah's making the Muslim community forget a verse, but one guy's memory is too strong.
He missed him.
And Muhammad is thankful towards him for remembering that.
The problem is why he revealed it if he's going to erase it.
Yeah.